There we go. Hello, 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 and welcome to these Gothtober reading sprints. We are now technically in week 2 because it's the 7th of October, so I hope you've all been enjoying your Gothtober, and I'm joined by 2 wonderful guests who I'm going to let introduce themselves. Leandra, do you want to go for it first?
Sure. So I'm Leandra, the TBR0. Very exciting because this is the first time I've been on Olivia's channel. So trying to provide a good first impression. I really wanted to read something gothic for Gothtober, and I still plan to, but I'm currently juggling too many reads at the moment. So I'll be the lighter side of the panel, depending on what you all are reading. And I'm going to be reading, I have it on audio, and I'm possibly going to go for a walk during these sprints, which will be lovely. It is the new title by Sangu Mandana, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. Not usually what I read, but it's been delightful so far.
Nice cozy fantasy. Did you like the first one?
I did. I actually really enjoyed it. And because I don't dip my toes into romance too often, but I think the witchiness balanced it out, and the found family, the kids, I ended up giving it 4 stars. And so I'm excited for this one.
Nice. Sounds like my kind of book. I do have it, I just haven't read it, so that bodes well.
I'll keep you updated, let you know if it ends up being like an amazing read.
And how about you, Amy?
Well, I'm Amy McCall. I'm a YouTuber at my name, so I'm easy to find. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram talking about books, and I'm the author of trying to explain there's so many books now. Where do I start? So The Mina and the Undead trilogy, which are murder mystery set in 90s New Orleans, and then They Own the Night, which is a Dracula retelling that just came out. I should present the cover to you, but of course I don't have it. I'll go and grab it at some point to show you. And yeah, so I'm going to be actually writing. I'm going to show you my cool notebook that I'm writing in. I got this Epic Universe this summer, so this is my notebook that I've just finished a first draft, so I'm writing an outline at the moment. I do this retrospectively, so I do kind of a messy first draft, and then I write a chapter outline to try and figure out where I went wrong. So that's what I'm doing now, trying to figure out why this doesn't make sense in places and make it make sense. So that's the plan for this evening. And I have some book plates, which I don't know whether you can see. Oh, in fact, you can see the cover, but it's very I'm going to visit 11 bookshops this weekend. Help me. So I'm taking them some book plates when I go. So I'm signing books, and then I tend to leave book plates because it makes them order more books in. So that's my key strategy to share with you today.
I guess you also end up taking home some books when you're visiting 11 different bookshops as well.
Oh, it's so dangerous. And I've got a small bookworm as well, and he finds cute books with bats and stuff on at this time of year. And like when we went to America, he ends up buying a baby book, which was called You're My Little Pumpkin Pie. And it was clearly too young for him. And I was like, but it's so cute. And on every page, you're a different spooky thing. So you're my little ghost, you're my little pumpkin pie, and my little bat. And he knows that he's going to pick up a book like that and I'm going to buy it. So yeah, so there'll be adult spooky books. Oh, and I should show you the book I'm reading. 1 second. If I get time, I'm reading Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. And it's really good so far. I'm just getting to the creepy stuff. So she's decided to renovate a house that she and her sisters have inherited, and her sisters want nothing to do with it because their mother has recently died and always claimed that a demon lived there. And this middle, I don't know if she's the younger sister. She's the younger sister. She's like, cool, I'm just going to renovate it before we sell it. That'll be fine, won't it, everybody?
Of course.
So yeah, that's where I am. I love reading horror books and be like, no, don't renovate the demonic house. But she's not listening to me. She's going to do it anyway.
Like they always say, let's all split up. And I'm like, don't split up. What do you mean? And I'm like, okay, someone's going to die. It's going to be fun.
I just read a book called Let's Split Up, and the sequel Be Right Back, and it deals with that kind of situation where the characters all say stuff like, let's all split up, and then by the sequel they're going, no, don't split up.
That sounds great. I love Rachel Harrison's writing, and I've actually set up a buddy read on Saturday to start Play Nice, so
amazing. Let me know how you get on with it when you do. I'm about a quarter of the way through it thus far, so yeah, I don't think I'll have read it by Saturday. Let's be honest. You'll probably get ahead of me very soon.
We'll see. I'm currently reading a whole load of things, as per usual, but one of the ones that I'm going to start, I probably shouldn't start another book, but I'm going to start another book, and that is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews, which...
Oh, I've been looking at that.
Yeah, it's YA. I think it's YA creepy. I don't know if it's like horror, but I actually don't know too much about it. But I'll find out.
Yeah, a lot of people I know have already said that that's like on their best books of the year. Kirsten, the reading nymph, she adored it. It's one of her best books of the year. Rainy Blue Reads really loved it as well. I think they say it's just really beautifully written, and there is some obsession. It's that kind of horror in the sense where it's very atmospheric and there's a lot of feelings.
Captivating. Yeah. I think I remember the author said on their Instagram, like, sad boys in the woods or something like that. And I thought that sounds like a book for me. So cool. Let's see. Hello, looking forward to some reading after you've eaten. I did the same thing. I came home and I was like, food first.
Thank you. I'm regretting not buying more, honestly, because it's really thin and I should have bought like 5 of them. I think I'm gonna have to go back to Florida just to buy another notebook, I think.
Shall we kick off with our first half an hour reading sprint to warm us up?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
I don't tend to do a timer. I just tend to unmute myself and turn a page very softly to welcome us back in.
I love that, like a little bit of ASMR.
Yeah, just to wake us up
back.
a bit. So see you all in half an hour.
Hello.
Hi.
It's the end of our first reading sprint.
Woohoo.
We've had a lot of people join us. So before we discuss how we found it, I'm just going to say a quick hello to everybody. Hello, hello. Reading Salem's Fall by Rectock Ross. It's a new one to me.
Mm-hmm.
Currently reading A Matter of Interpretation by Elizabeth MacDonald for the historical fiction prompt. Nice. Leander said sprints have started, so you gotta be here. You're about to sprint for Scarathon and then moving into a buddy read. Oh, well, thanks for keeping us open. There are so many different readathons happening in the month of October. Do you want to talk about TBR Harvest for a moment as well?
I suppose, but also shout out to Scarathon. If people are looking for a bingo board, go support Jess. But yeah, TBR Harvest is just another of many, many readathons that are being hosted in October, as you mentioned, Olivia. And it would tie in well with anyone's. Olivia has kindly given me a prompt for our Booktuber Harvest activity. If people want to see one of their favorite Booktubers over there, then I'd be happy to have you.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Happy sprinting. Hello. Listening to The Hobbit, read by Andy Serkis.
Ooh, that sounds good.
That's actually my favorite one of... It's not even in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but it is my favorite one of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I haven't read any of it, and I feel like a bad reader for not having ever tried it. Now, regarding publication order, is The Hobbit, was it published first and then he decided to write The Lord of the Rings, or how did that work out?
I feel like I'm not a big enough fan to know the answer to this question. Amy, do you know, or no?
I don't. I've only read The Fellowship of the Ring. I read it at university and really enjoyed it, but you know what it was like when you're at uni, like no money, and I only had the one book, so I didn't pick up the others. So, and I do need to. I'd love to, but then I'm into the films and I watch them every, maybe every 3 years at Christmas. We generally rewatch them all, so I've kind of not been desperate to read the books. I would like to, but just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, because I hear that some of the themes are really great in regards to even environment, like environmentalism, conservation, and of course there are many other moments of social commentary in there. But I hear it's such a big staple in the fantasy community, and I'm like, I need to finally read one of those books.
Hobbit is first, apparently. It is the one that I read first as well, and I read The Hobbit physically, but I listened to the other three, which was a very good experience, actually. The Hobbit was published first and it became so popular he wrote the trilogy, having to change The Hobbit slightly so that they are connected. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. That is such a good story.
Lynn is reading The Reformatory, which I'm halfway through and I'm absolutely loving. I think it's fantastic.
I don't know if I told you this, because I'm sure I saw you mention it on your TBR, but that the author has based it off of some backstory regarding her family. Like her family has connection to certain events that this book is based off of. So it might be something to look into.
Wow. I mean, that's absolutely tragic if that is the case. But it's
100%
also really
not a happy thing.
I will have to look into that. Hi. Thank you for smashing that thumbs up. Ellen is cooking at the moment, hopefully reading later. Currently reading Model Home by River Solomon. Another very, very good book. Very metaphorical, very haunting. All the audiobooks read by Andy Serkis are amazing. Nice. Hobbit was published in 1937. We are getting educated with the facts here. I love it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
1954, 1955. You haven't even read it.
So we're talking pre and post war. That's quite interesting, isn't it? I bet they'll have quite a different vibe.
Yeah, like interwar period versus long after, and who knows what themes he decided to pick up for Lord of the Rings in reaction to that.
And actually seeing that it's pre and post war makes a lot of sense, because as Jane's saying here, The Hobbit was written for children, so it has got a more like light-hearted, adventurous tone. Whereas, yes, the Lord of the Rings is still an adventure, but it's a much more gritty, emotionally serious one as well. But how did your reading sprints go? How are you finding your book so far?
I forgot that we hadn't even discussed that yet. I ended up getting to 20% in A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. The love interest, I believe, has just arrived, so that'll be quite interesting to see the dynamic. So we mostly just been focusing on the magic. I'm loving the side characters in this. There's a cunning little fox who's getting up to no good, and a skeletal creature, I'll say, that is weirdly adorable.
Oh, nice. That sounds lovely.
You just got me with the weirdly adorable skeleton. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, I'm already going to be a favorite for me.
How about you, Amy? How's your writing session or planning session?
It was good. So I summarized about 4 or 5 chapters and kind of had a little brainstorm on a couple of things that had been bugging me. I find, I'm not going to show you exactly what I'm summarizing because spoilers. I write a little page like that. And I do it in one color. I write the summary and then I write kind of problems or things I've noticed in a different color so I can kind of draw threads between bits of the narrative. And yeah, it's the first time I've done it exactly this way, and it's really helping so far. I find I can't keep a whole book in my head, and this is quite a short book compared. I think Day and the Night ended up being just under 100, or might have been even just over 100,000 by the end. This one's a lot shorter, but I still can't keep the whole narrative in my head, so I have to write it out this way, just so I can make sure that everything follows on, and I don't I tend to lose characters, like minor characters. I forget to mention them for a while, so I'm checking like that. Does anybody go really quiet or just forget to be there for half the book? So that's what I've been doing. And yeah, it's going well. I love sprints for that. I find I focus a lot better. I try and pick my phone up and then I go, oh no, we're sprinting. Concentrate.
Yeah.
Nice. It can be really good for like long stretches of time. I'm not a long stretch of time reader usually, so I do really like sprints because then I'm like, okay, I've read for like a substantial amount of time.
Yeah, and I feel like if I wasn't here with people keeping an eye on me, no one's really keeping track, but I feel like I'm being held accountable because I'm like, I got to come back and be able to say I've done something, right? I feel like that. But I think that the origin of even like sprints was writing sprints. I've been told that that's kind of where it started as well, which is fun to think that writing has turned into reading, and now we kind of do both. It makes sense.
Oh, circle of life.
Indeed. Circle of a reader and a writer.
And then I read the first 25 pages of Don't Let the Forest In, and I can see exactly what your friends meant with the writing style, because the writing is really decadent. It's very Maggie Stiefvater, which is kind of the writing style that I really love to read. So I'm having a good time, but I don't know what's going on yet. Something's going on. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, which is going to be about films in this season. I know Amy is a huge film fan. So in this kind of like October season, what is your go-to film, whether that's like more on the cozy, lighthearted side or like horror vibes?
Ooh, for me, the autumn season always makes me kind of want to go back in time. So it's usually like an older film. Those who've already said hello to me in the comments, you should know that I already love this film. And it's not spooky or anything, but My Man Godfrey, I think it came out in the 1920s. I really like screwball comedies from that era, from like the 20s and 30s, and I find them very cozy. Now, if we want like a pop culture reference, I usually find myself gravitating towards like television shows like Charmed, because that's kind of where I grew up. I'm trying to get into Buffy. I'll say that's on my bucket list, because I ended up reading In Every Generation. I loved it because I grew up with Angel, weirdly enough, the spinoff, but I never watched Buffy. And so last summer I started, I'm like, oh my gosh, I understand why people really enjoy this and why it's a bit of a cult classic. And then I just lost track of time, and I'm like, this is the time. This is the time for me to start it up again. So I'll say that that's on my list to watch, but usually I kind of lean into the old classics. I don't really gravitate towards newer stuff unless you guys have any recommendations for me.
I'm not going to be a new stuff recommender, I'm afraid. I was clapping when you said Buffy because it's my favorite thing ever of any kind of culture. I think, like, if you said I could keep one TV show, film, book, it would be Buffy. I love it. It inspires my writing. It inspires like the way I live, I think. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, the things I would recommend are The Lost Boys, always. I watch it every year this time of year. 1980s vampires. That's what inspired my new book. Like for me to set it in the 80s, I just wanted that kind of biker vampire vibe. So that I've just started watching Trick or Treat every year. If you want something really creepy, it's a cute little psych boy who goes around and murders people if you don't celebrate Halloween. So if he hears people bad mouthing Halloween, he will kill them. So it's really dark, but it's like a horror comedy, and he looks so seriously cute. If you see a picture of Sam, he looks like adorable, but he's evil. And that's kind of my whole vibe, cute but evil. And I'm also going to watch Scream at like an outdoor showing, which is kind of terrifying because it's so meta, isn't it? I feel like it's a bit scary to watch Scream, an outdoor movie. Like, what could go wrong? But yeah, we're going to do that in a couple of weeks. I'm really excited because I've not watched the first film for a couple of years. So yeah, that's probably the trifecta of things. And yeah, Buffy. I will definitely watch some Buffy this month, without a doubt.
Nice. I will say the watching like a movie at a movie theater or in like an outdoor setting, that is in itself a very classic thing to see in horror. Another readathon that's going on is Halloweenathon, and they host viewing parties in the Discord. And one night I was joining them, and they watched the 1980s version of The Blob, and they had one of those scenes where they're all sitting there watching this like terrifying film, and little do they know The Blob is coming. And it's just a classic image, I think.
Yeah, I know. I'm a bit scared. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Not to scare you. Sorry.
We're watching it at a very nice stately home in the UK, but I do have this like Scream 2 starts set in a movie theatre. So I'm just thinking, yeah, it's a bit of a weird way to watch Scream, but I'm excited. They're also showing Lost Boys this summer, but I'd already committed to Scream this fall even. So yeah, I was like, I'm only going to do this once because it requires like babysitters, and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Any night out I have is usually my mum, so it's not that difficult, but still.
I actually saw Scream for the first time this year, and I was this is fantastic. I can't believe I haven't seen it before. I understand why everybody loves it so much.
I feel like it's your kind of thing because it's got that kind of extra layer of depth and thought to it that I think you tend to appreciate with books and with other stuff.
Yeah, I liked how like almost meta it was in like commentary on the horror culture while also being its own thing as well. With enough of a like twist, like enough of a plot to a horror comedy is something I really like. So I had a very good time watching it. Yeah. And then otherwise I am actually on the new stuff. I'm in the cinema for all of these horror releases that are happening. I'm going to try and see the Jordan Peele on Friday if I possibly can, the sports one. And then I'm waiting for the Frankenstein to release on the 17th. I'm very, very excited to watch that.
This isn't obviously horror, even though the film or the book itself is dark. But is it? What's the new film that's coming out? Is it Wuthering Heights that's coming out in soon? But they're taking it a very different direction, to my understanding. I don't know how people are feeling about that, but I've never seen any of the adaptations for Wuthering Heights. That's not going to be the one I start with, by the way. But I'll make sure to watch something else first. But yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I saw it at the theatre and it was a really faithful adaptation. I saw all the people reacting to it and being quite angry, and I was like, oh man, I've just written a Dracula retelling where Dracula's a rock star like in the 80s and nobody seems mad. And it's interesting. I think it's the difference between a retelling and an adaptation. I think like an adaptation I see as being like the BBC Pride and Prejudice, like really faithful to the source material. So I think people are upset that it's not a faithful adaptation, but I don't know. I'm kind of like, well, I've not faithfully adapted Dracula, but I've taken things I love about Dracula that I hope that readers will recognize from the original and enjoy. And if you've never seen any Dracula or read every Dracula, I think you'd still enjoy the book. And that's kind of how I interpret the Wuthering Heights thing. But I could be wrong. I could watch it and go, oh no, it's ruined Wuthering Heights. But yeah, I'm trying not to be too kind of critical until I've I do want to watch it. I have to admit, it made me, all the hype and all the kind of drama made me curious to see what's been done with it. Like Margot Robbie isn't anything like the woman in the book, and people are saying, well, is she sort of a self-insert of, like, is there something meta going on? Is she somebody that isn't actually, like, is she a reader inserting herself into the book, say, is one of the theories.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't know. And also I think I've seen some stuff, I'm less keen on the fact that Heathcliff, like there's talk of the fact that Heathcliff, like it would have been an opportunity for somebody from a different background, from a different race, and they've kind of cast a conventionally attractive young, I don't know whether Jacob Elordi's white, but he's certainly not kind of how Heathcliff is fully conveyed in the book. So I think that's what some people are upset about as well, that I think he's described in not very flattering way in the book. They use some terms that I wouldn't like to say, but like they talk about his dark skin. So I think some people think that's kind of a missed opportunity to actually cast, you know, an actor from a similar background to Heathcliff. But yeah, that's my only reservation about it, mainly, I think, from what I've heard so far.
I've read the book Wuthering Heights. It was not a book for me, admittedly. I did read it quite young. I read Twilight, and in Twilight she references Wuthering Heights, and I was like, okay.
Oh, wow.
So it was very different than I expected. I wasn't really a big fan. I've been meaning to try it again as an adult, but because I wasn't a big fan of the book, I'm not like on the hype train for this film. I'm happy to watch it, but it just doesn't look like a bit of me much. And I kind of agree with what you're saying, Amy, about like people being like, oh, it doesn't look like a faithful adaptation. I think I'm less worried about it being a faithful adaptation because I didn't like the original, so I don't mind if they change things. But also I'm carrying a lot of the like trauma of having watched that Persuasion adaptation that Netflix recently did and really not liking that. And this looking like the same kind of promo. So I don't mind if it goes in a different direction. I just hope it still is like decent as a film.
Right. Yeah, and I think that there's also, for me, I've started to have a difference in how I view the term retelling versus reimagining. Like, I think retelling, you know, like reimaginings, you're going off, you know, like I feel like that is someone really going on a completely different view, and even adaptations too, in their own vein. I think that I would understand people being upset if it was something that wasn't adapted very often in history. Like if it's like, this is the one chance, this is our one opportunity to get this like really well-loved book adapted. Will it ever be adapted again? Who knows in our lifetime? Because I know that the similar discussions go on regarding like Agatha Christie adaptations, like Poirot. People were, I think, you know, what was it? The most recent one was like A Haunting in Venice. But this idea of Kenneth Branagh remaking them. And I'm like, they are making it very adventure, very high intense, very different from what you would have seen on like the BBC and that. But we already have those adaptations. So I'm like, the thing is, we've got many. And because this author is so well known, in 10, 15 years, it's going to be adapted again. Like they're just, you know, so I think it depends on the fear on how often it would be adapted. And if they're like, this is the one chance in my lifetime to really appreciate an adaptation, I get that concern as well if they really love it.
It depends on your thoughts on Saltburn too, because I found Saltburn a bit over sensationalized. Like some of the scenes, I can see why it was done, but I found it a little bit like graphic and shocking for the sake of shocking. Like I don't know. So that's my only thing with Wuthering Heights as well, because I know it's the same. Is it the same director? I think.
I think so.
So yeah, there were things I really appreciated about Saltburn, and others where I was like, for me, it was kind of a step further than I felt was necessary, because I always kind of reflect on stuff like, is that needed for plot or character or what the author's trying to say? And I don't know whether the two of you have seen Saltburn, but there were 2 or 3 scenes in particular.
Yeah.
So you don't, if people had seen it on the screen, you'd be nodding emphatically, because there are 2 or 3 scenes in particular where it's very,
heard of some scenes.
Yeah, it's 3 scenes where it's very intensely, I don't even know what the word for it is. Uncomfortable isn't a strong enough word. Yeah. I don't know whether I keep saying this to people, like they're like, should I watch Saltburn? I'm like, I don't know. I think you need to read a bit about it and go into it with your eyes open, because I went into it not knowing what I was getting. I thought I was getting something about a stately home, and I didn't really read too far into it. And then I was like, wow, this is not this is not what I thought it was.
I think it also
So whether that makes you want to watch it or not, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it also always shows after these films, like, what do people talk about afterwards? Because all I know about Saltburn is probably those 3 scenes, but then like a film like Get Out that has a lot of commentary, you hear about like the themes as the main thing, or like the acting.
Yeah.
So it's like what gets taken away from films, I also find very interesting, because it shows you a bit about, you know, whether those scenes are effective or not so much.
I think it did have some commentary that it was trying to make, and again I had some questions over that when I got to the end, like how that idea was conveyed, if you like. And I do think that those scenes overshadowed what was trying to be said as well, because like you said, if the first thing I said about it was not, oh, it's having a commentary on this thing, which I won't spoil for you because you've not seen it, but I didn't talk about the commentary, I talked about the 3 graphic scenes.
Yeah, true.
So maybe it does kind of, yeah. And obviously, I think that's probably what Emerald Fennel goes for, because I think that Wuthering Heights trailer was very deliberately provocative. They could have just shown some scenes of a woman and a man together, and you don't really know what the adaptation is going to be like. I think it was very deliberately chosen to show that this is a different take on Wuthering Heights. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I will watch it. I'll watch Frankenstein. I'll watch that. I'll watch anything like adaptation of Gothic. I'm all for more of it.
Also some remakes of I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I haven't seen the remake yet.
I liked the original better personally, but it's because I Know What You Did Last Summer was so formative for me. I watched it, I think, when I was about 15, and I was just obsessed with it. So watching a kind of remake or continuation or whatever you call it, I thought it was good. But yeah, I'd always say the original. Like if somebody did the same, you know, the same with Scream. I like all the new Scream films, but I think the original 2 particularly are just amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
We're OGs here. All right, we've chatted for a bit, so shall we read for the next 40 minutes? We all good for another 40-minute sprint?
Yeah, I think I'm going to carry on doing what I was planning to do something else, but I'm into it now. My synopsizing, if that's even a word. It's going well, so I'm going to carry that on, I think.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to get some tea, by the way, and I'm going to keep reading. So yeah, that sounds great for me.
Awesome.
Amazing. See you in 40 minutes. That's the end of our second reading sprint. Hello.
Hello.
I think
Hello.
this time we'll start with straight away checking in on how our reading sprints went. How did yours go?
Let me see here. I had tea this morning, and so I was like, I kind of am craving coffee. So I had coffee. We'll see if I regret that later in the evening, if I can't fall asleep. But I'm now a quarter of the way through A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. And I was a little bit nervous returning because I just set up my drawing pad, and I was like, with the different plugins, I'm like, I wonder if the audio and the visuals everything was fine. So I was like, well, I might have to play around with this. But yeah, I'm doing some multitasking and still thoroughly enjoying the book.
Nice. How about you, Amy?
So I got a few more chapters summarized, and then my brain just got to a point where it stopped and went, nope, no more. So I sat and signed all my book plates. So I've now officially signed every book plate in my house. I'm probably going to get some more in the next couple of days, so I'll have to start signing those too. But yeah, for now I'm like up to date. So yeah, when I go to the bookshops this weekend, I should have plenty to hand out to people. So yeah, I feel good. That's been really productive. Thank you. I think I'm going to have to head off after we've had our little chat because I'm sleepy now. But it's really lovely to chat with you and get some stuff done together.
Oh, nice. Thanks for joining us, and I'm glad you found it to be a productive session as well.
Yeah, it's been lovely. Thank you. I'll stay around for the chat, and then when you sprint, I'll just kind of slip away there.
Sounds good. And then I read another couple pages of Don't Let the Forest In. I'm on page 56, and I'm still really loving it. I knew when I started that our main character was Ace, but it's been like confirmed on the page, which is really nice. And we have a disabled main character too. So yeah, very good. Very, very good.
Nice. I didn't realize that one of the characters was Ace. I didn't realize that it had that representation in there. So
yes, and I think its own voices representation as well from the author. So that's nice. Added bonus. People have been chatting and reading as well. I hope you did manage to read this time. Hello, Kirsty. Thanks for joining us. You're reading Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. Matching.
Yeah.
Right now it's on your way to being best book of the year. This is what we're hearing a lot with C.G. Drews books. Writing and the characters are absolutely exquisite. Hello. Finished work for the day and I'm reading some of the Hexologists. A Tangle of Time.
Ooh, so the first book, The Hexologists, I read earlier this year, and Tennille, who commented this, knows that I really enjoyed it, and so I'm very jealous of her. This is the sequel. It just came out in like the last month.
Oh, nice. What kind of book is this?
It's a bit of a fantasy mystery. Yeah, historical, and the Hexologists are a married couple that, have odd cases brought to them. The wife is a hexologist, and then the husband works alongside her. The dynamic is black cat and golden retriever, if you like that dynamic with the couple. And I have no idea what the second book is about, but the first one follows a illegitimate son of the king, is supposedly saying, and they've got to investigate to figure out if this is true or not, or if it's a scam, all while the king is trying to bake himself into a cake, which is itself a little bit of an issue. So there's a few things going on there, but it's a very fun time.
Sounds like a fun read. I'm going to have to check it out after this.
Yeah.
Jane, you read almost 100 pages in that sprint. Wow, that's really fast. And the book is moving fast. I'm impressed. I want to finish today. We got one more sprint. Maybe another 100 pages. You got to page 100 of Hazelthorn. You've laughed, you've had chills, you've teared up. Such a real depiction of autism. Oh, I'm glad that it's been able to reach out to you and that you're having the best time reading it. That's always nice. Finished the first chapter of The Hobbit. Well done. I remember those chapters were quite long, so you're doing a good job. you have done at the Forest Interview later this month as well. Nice. Great. So, as the theme of Gothtober is castles and crypts, I have castle-themed questions to ask you. The first one is, have you ever visited a castle before?
Oh, yes. I was fortunate, not that there are many castles here in the United States, but I was fortunate. I've lived in the Netherlands and Belgium. And while there, beautiful, both beautiful countries.
That's where I grew up, in the Netherlands.
What? Did you say you grew up in the Netherlands?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! How did I not know this about you?
No.
Wonderful.
Oh.
Do you speak Dutch?
I do, yeah. I grew up there for 13 years before I moved to London.
Oh my goodness. Okay. My Dutch is very, very rusty, so I'm not going to practice it on you, but that is so cool. I love that. So I while there obviously went to various places, but I think one that was most memorable, I don't remember what it was called, but it was a castle in Germany, and it was just very grand and very beautiful. So yeah, but there's probably been a few that I don't have the names of, but yeah, they're very, you can feel how old they are, even as you're kind of being watched by the people who are making sure that it stays pristine.
As is needed. How about you, Amy?
I love a castle and a crypt, it has to be said. On Mother's Day this year, my son and my husband asked me, what do you want to do? And I was like, go to castles. So we went to 2 different castles just on Mother's Day. I love learning the history of them sometimes, and sometimes I like just going in and like feeling how I feel when I'm there and just imagining the people. And I like little snippets you read as you walk around, like, you know, that this king stayed here or this queen would have stayed in this bedroom. And yeah, we've toured castles in Ireland, been around a fair few in England. I did an Outlander tour of Scotland that was good, that me and my husband put together, and we went to all the filming locations from Outlander, a lot of witch castles. And what else? And yeah, in other countries I try. Probably one of the coolest ones I've been to is there's a walled city called Carcassonne in France, and the whole city is inside these castle walls, and there is a castle keep inside it. And it was just such a unique experience. I can't even, you got to look it up online if you've not heard of it, because it's absolutely beautiful. I need to go back. So yeah, the very long answer there is all what I just said. And yes, I love a castle, love a crypt. In Rome, I went to the catacombs there, and I've been to the Paris catacombs. I quite like seeing skeletons in creepy places. Anybody reading books will be just nodding. They're like, oh yeah, a few things make sense now. There's always bones, there's always castles. Not so many castles in New Orleans, because as you mentioned, Leandra, whenever I meet people from the US, they just want to talk about castles, like, you know, because they see, like, on my social media, I'm always going to them. Because I didn't realize until I went there, really. Obviously, you don't think about the fact that it's such a new country comparatively, in terms of, obviously, they're indigenous peoples, but in terms of like castles being built as defensive structures, it wasn't really a thing. I didn't know. I visited.
Yeah, I mean, we have forts and we do have historical sites, but just not in that same type of grandeur. And even, like you said, when it comes to indigenous reservations and those, and even they've been, unfortunately, removed from their, more often than not, been removed from their original like place. And so we don't really have old structures. We do a little bit. I know up in New York, we have some that, I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But even then, it doesn't compare. It doesn't. A lot of it wouldn't compare to Europe, the UK, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think of the oldest castle I think I've been to. There's one in Portugal, in an amazing place called Sintra, where apparently the Portuguese royalty used to build their castles, basically. So there's an amazing Gothic mansion built by an eccentric millionaire/billionaire who had literary references on his site, and he did things like he built an inverted well to represent Dante's Inferno and like the descent into hell. Awesome. But I went to a castle there that's from the 1000s, which just blew my mind that it's still there. And you walk the castle walls, and there's a very tiny amount of the keep at the top, but the castle walls are in such good condition. It is incredible to think that for over 1,000 years they've been open to the elements and they're still there. It's just it's awesome. I need to go back there. That's one of my favorite places, actually, at Lisbon in Portugal. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, I think there was a tower. So when I visited Ireland once, we were in Kilkenny, and I believe there's a tower that we climbed that's also from the like 11th or 12th century, and we were like, wow, this is still holding up. It's still like we were sitting at the top of this thing, and it's really impressive.
It's amazing how things can like stand the test of time. Like when they were building them for that security, they made them secure. They made them very secure.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the UK went for kind of like royalty would be there or some kind of lord and lady. So it had that like lavish kind of grandeur to it. Because like you said, the US ones, it sounds like they're more like forts and the military would have been there, whereas it was more like the rich people in the UK went, no, we're going to wall ourselves into this like beautiful kind of luxurious castle instead. Oh, that's cool. I don't know that I've been to Tamworth Castle actually. I've been to Tamworth because there's a ski slope in like there's I don't know if it's a dry ski slope or like one of those indoor ones. I've definitely been there to go skiing a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know much about that castle. I have to look it up now. Whoa, 950. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's cool.
Oh my gosh.
That's so old. Kirsty used to be a historical reenactor and got to stay in castles overnight, which very few people do. Stayed at Scarborough, Lakeville, and Dover. That's so cool.
I've been to all of those castles, so this shows what a castle aficionado I am. Yeah, in fact, Dover Castle is probably one of my favourites. It's really, really cool. There's underground tunnels there too, which I think from one of the World Wars. Kay Beth might be able to say which one. So yeah, lots of interesting history at all those places.
Oh gosh, wow. I think it's a very I think I'd be creeped out if I got to stay in a castle overnight. Like as cool as it is, I'd just be like, there must be some ghosts. There must be somewhere.
Yeah, Banbury Castle is amazing too. That's in Northumberland. It's near Alnwick Castle, which is another beautiful.
I love how you know all these castles.
You've got me talking now. I didn't realise this about me. It's one of my special topics. I can't stop. Snow Dome. That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah, we'll do. Kay Beth, like we're on the same wavelength here. I love this.
The thing is that my mum loves like two things on holiday. She loves the like tourist train that takes you around and tells you facts. And then she does love a castle. So we often go to a castle, but my fact memory to distinguish the castles has long since been lost to me. So I just walk around the castle and I admire it and I do read all the info stuff, but I can't recite as much knowledge about castles.
Yeah, it's the retention that I think where I'm like, I know I've been there. I've been to these places, and people put so much work, obviously, like historians, and putting these facts, and they're really great at the time. But when I walk away, I'm like, there's going to be like one or two facts that I remember, and the rest are going to be gone eventually.
There's something that sparks up a book idea, and I normally take a picture of whatever thing that I think is going to be an absolutely pivotal idea, and then I never go back and read the signs again. I look at the picture of the castles, and I never zoom in and look at the information, but I always have good intentions. One day I'll write a book. There's a bit of one of them set in a castle, but I want to write like a really kind of claustrophobic, stuck in a castle kind of book at some point. I think I need to do it.
That'd be so much fun. And also what you said about looking back at the pictures is exactly how I am with museums. I love a good museum, but I've taught myself I can take 3 photos of art maximum at each museum, because otherwise I just take photos of like so many things and you never look back at them. So I was like,
good idea actually, because I sometimes think, do you just stand and take pictures and not actually enjoy the thing as well? Like you're so busy trying to get a beautiful shot and you're looking at like a Botticelli or something and you're like, oh, I'm just going to try and take a picture of it. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to an art gallery this weekend because my son's studying. I say studying, he's in year 1. They're doing about L.S. Lowry at the minute. And it turns out that in Manchester where we're going, there's a big Lowry exhibit. So I was like, cool, free art. Like we can actually link to what he's learning. So I don't think I've taken him to like small galleries before, but never like a massive exhibition. So it'd be interesting to see what a 5-year-old does in like a 360 art exhibit that's all around him. It could go really well or really badly. I don't know. I'll keep you posted.
Hopefully good.
Yeah, I am. Speaking of museums, my friend and I, we went to the Magritte Museum when she was visiting me, and the one, it's terrible. Obviously, I do, recognize much of his art, but my experience is that I remember we became obsessed because we really like discussing language, was the various translations of the artwork when it was, so it was in French, there was a translation in Dutch, and then there was in English, and we were like comparing the differences, like, who made the decision to edit, to change this, as if it wasn't like a direct translation. That's all I remember from that experience, really.
But it can be so fun to see the differences in translation when you're able to like flick between the languages. Always fascinating, because I love translated fiction, but I read a lot of translated fiction from countries where I can't speak the original language, so I don't know what the translation comparison is like. But not as highbrow as art, but I've been reading Twilight in Dutch to keep my Dutch, and it is very interesting to see the difference in the experience. But I'm very slow. I'm such a slow reader.
I tried to do that in French. I've got some of my favorite books in French to try and like sharpen my French up. So I've got The Beach, La Plage in French, and I did try to read it, and yeah, some of it's really colloquial, the English in The Beach. So seeing the translations of it, trying to make sense of that in French is interesting. I wish I could tell you which country, I've forgotten, but there's an edition of Dracula which apparently is quite steamy and different because the translator decided that they were just going to kind of rewrite. I'll have to look it up and send you the link, but yeah, there's like a different version of Dracula out there where the translator just kind of took liberties and went, I'm just going to roll with this and rewrite. So they kind of wrote a reimagining of Dracula rather than a translation of it, which I thought was kind of wild, because the whole country, I assume, thinks that that's, or thought until this kind of came out, that that's what Dracula was.
It was like interesting. I would love to read an untranslation of that, where they take that version and put it in English, but keeping the reimagining elements, because
I think it does exist. I need to. People always send me like weird stuff about vampires, which I really appreciate. And that is one of. I need to go back through my messages and find out who sent me it, because I was so taken with that idea. And I watched a film recently where I don't remember which actors were in it, but there was some famous British actor, and he played an author whose book had been translated in another country, and him and the translator on a tour. And it transpired that the translator had turned his book into a spicy book. So all these women were there like to hear about this spicy, like this sexy young author who'd written a spicy book. And he had no idea it had been turned into a spicy book by this translator. And that was pretty funny too. I don't know whether that was inspired by a similar, those things happen in real life. But
yeah, I wonder if they just think, oh, this will get people more excited or more interested in the narrative and more people will buy it. But then, yeah, or even I've seen where, I remember, was it The Vegetarian, that there was a lot of discourse regarding if the translator took too much liberty in that sense, and that being a more modern title, and just kind of, and I think it gained a lot of acclaim, won awards, and then there was this question of, did the translator do wrong in maybe like taking too much liberty? And I can't imagine trying to translate and, again, retain the writing style and everything. It's a really impressive art for sure.
Yeah, because the beauty of books, like you said, like imagine reading a C.J. Drews book not written by C.J. Drews, because what you're enjoying is their writing style. Yeah, I've heard of censorship happening. I've had friends talk about how their books have been translated, and little things sometimes like swearing just quietly going in the translated version, but also things like ironing out stuff that culturally isn't as accepted in different countries. It just being taken out in the translation without any kind of discussion, and sometimes with discussion. And I think sometimes authors are given the decision, like, do you want this thing to be taken out so it can be published in this country? And you have to decide either yes or no. And I haven't had the kind of dubious pleasure of that kind of conversation yet, but it may come up at some point. I don't know. But yeah, I hear a lot about it, translations being, and even US versions, things being changed to kind of adapt even the slightly different culture.
Yeah, I remember hearing once about an Australian author who, when their book was being published in the UK and the US, the seasons had to be swapped back, because just to make it more understandable for us Westerners to be like, it's set in July, it's summer. So they had to change the season of their book, which I found really fascinating.
I've never thought about that. I'm so glad you said that, just in case I ever need to think about that kind of thing, like set something on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Or even, is it, I've got too many things to respond to. The first one is it Good Girl's Guide to Murder? I don't know if the book was changed. I feel like I heard that that YA, very popular YA novel, when it was presented in the US, they set it in the United States. but it's supposed to be set in the UK, which is very weird, you know. Yeah, you would think that.
I think that's Good
Did
Girls
it-
Guide to change the school system.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So a friend of mine sat and did a direct comparison to see what they changed. And yeah, she said there was some stuff where it was just like to make it, you know, a US setting. So it was changed to schools. But she said, and obviously I haven't read it to know myself, but she said it was that Pip's personality changes slightly and that she is more kind of anxious and sort of a bit neurotic in the UK version. And some of that was taken out in the US one. It's like her personality even was changed slightly. So I don't know how deliberate that was. It could be as simple as, oh, we needed the word count to be different because our formatting is different. But it seems an odd thing for them to actually change character traits. I've heard that the US less relationship things are allowed in YA books and violence is generally okay. So I think sometimes relationship stuff is toned down. And the violence stays in US editions. So I don't know again how true that is, but that's what I've been told.
No, I think that that's true, because we've had to, and that's like across media as well. I think it goes into video gaming, television, film, and books where we have a higher threshold for like violent acts, which we can look into if we wanted to. But we're far more media is far more sensitive to displaying like intimacy in certain ways, depending on like graphics, and it'll dictate ratings as far as, you know, like family friendly versus not family friendly. It's interesting to compare that, and I know that internationally there are differences across. Like I know that I remember I was looking into it because here in the U.S. as well. Now we're just going off on a tangent. You can you can see advertisements for over-the-counter medication, and I know that that's illegal in a lot of countries, including Australia and a few others. Whereas we're like, oh yeah, no, of course, it's normal for you to go to your doctor and tell them, I saw this ad, can you give me this medication? Whereas like other, they're like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, that it's strange when you think about it and you delve into all of these different like crevices of different countries and what is and isn't happening or what is getting translated over. I think we're going to run through the comments one more time and then we're going to jump into our last sprint so that we don't stay too late. Went to Brighton Pavilion. Not sure if it counts as a castle, but it was fun and very trippy. I actually don't know what makes a castle a castle.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because there are some that is the word folly. I always get this wrong. Like there's some that are kind of like fake castles where I've been to some, and it's almost like a person has built something on their property to look or feel like a castle, but because it was built like it's anachronistic, that it doesn't count as a real castle. But I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough.
We played the Gothtober quiz, and one of the rounds Hannah made was castle or not. And I knew that I had answers wrong because my answer to all of them was yes, because they all looked like castles, but some of them were not. And I think one of them was for the reason that you just said there, Amy, where someone had built it on to look castle, but wasn't actually castle.
Yeah, I do the same thing, K-Beth. I do like touching castles. And like going through, we always find like little, I always love it when there's some sort of thing that like that used to be storage or used to be a fireplace. Like I love stepping into places and like looking up, say, into what used to be a chimney or something. I like the feeling of being inside a castle because quite often they're really ruined, but you can find these little spaces that you can still inhabit like you're somebody who was there. So yeah, I get it, K-Beth. I touch the castles too.
It's nice to feel history, like actually feel it around you. It's magically people, clothing has changed. And I like sending postcards at museums.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good show. Lastly.
Oh, thank you. That's me, yes.
And it's a good book.
There aren't castles. There's a made-up horror movie mansion in it. That's about as close to a castle as I've got in that one. There's a castle in my new one. Like I said, if you really want a castle, there's a fake Scottish castle in Day and the Night.
Nice. I think with that, we're like almost on 20. So we're going to read for another 40 minutes. Thanks so much for joining us, Amy. Make sure you check out her channel as well, YA Under My Skin.
Thank you. I'm going to look yours up too, Leandra. I need to check that I've subscribed before I go to bed. But yeah, I'm going to head to bed, everybody. But Thank you so much. It's been lovely to meet you, Leandra. Thank you as always, Olivia, for inviting me on. I love coming on your channel and chatting books and random things. I love how we've gone off on a castle tangent tonight. I didn't expect that, but I'm happy about it.
All right.
Lovely
See you in
to
a
meet you
bit.
too.
Night, everyone. Bye.
And then I think we'll be reading for 40 minutes to put us on the hour.
Yeah, works for me.
Sounds good. See you in a bit. And that's the end of our last reading sprint for today.
Nice.
Hello. How was your final sprint?
It went well. I just realized in everyone on the walk I planned on doing, so that'll probably be what happens when we're done because I still have some light left. I ended up getting to a third of the way through this book, so it helped me get a lot of progress and making progress on the project in front of me. Lots of erasing and redoing, but making progress. It's fine. How about you? How did you do?
I did okay. I think I did better in the previous sprints, but when I do sit down and read for a long time, this happens. Like towards the end, I'm like, okay, I'm finished reading now.
Yeah.
But I finished on page 86, which also almost puts me at a third of the way through this.
Oh my gosh, though 86 pages. You just started it today, so 86 pages in these sprints. That's pretty good.
I'm very happy. The only thing that I wish I hadn't done was I read the synopsis because I was like, I actually don't know what this book is about. So I was like, let me just read the synopsis to have some grounding. And I think the synopsis tells you too much. So if you're going to read this one, I recommend just going in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's always tough with those books because you're because sometimes the synopsis really doesn't tell you anything and you're fine to adjust, but sometimes it does feel like they give you more details than you would like to have gained that information organically with the characters as it was happening.
Yeah, because I'm like 86 pages in and it told me something that hasn't happened yet. And I'm like, that's too much.
No. Yeah. So you're waiting for it to happen and you're like, okay, how late is this going to happen?
Yeah. So interesting, but I'm still enjoying it regardless. And I know it's going to go beyond what the synopsis tells me. So just look forward to. How did other people do? Jane has only 74 pages left in this book. So finish. Go for it. Oh, wait. 74 pages left.
Written. Oh.
70 pages read. Smaller amount left to go.
Oh, nice.
Kirsty got to page 150. Okay, yeah. It's in the UK here. It's time for sleep soon.
Yeah, I believe it.
But it's nice that you got to read today after not reading for quite a while. So thanks for joining us. Good to know about the synopsis. You agree with that with Hazelthorne too. The synopsis is very long and detailed. Okay. These are good tips. Good tips we're getting. Are you a synopsis reader ahead of time, or are you like, I'm going to go in for the vibes or the good reviews that I've seen? What is your take?
Yeah, I don't mind spoilers necessarily or anything like that. I don't think I've been impacted. Like I've never read a book and been like, oh man, I would have liked this more if I wasn't spoiled. However, I never think to read the synopsis. I know, so it's funny that I don't really. My habit is just to jump into the book. So you would assume that I wouldn't like spoilers. Not that I love spoilers. I mean, come on, I'm not crazy. But I usually jump right in, and that's why I feel like sometimes I'm a bad, booktuber, because I'm like, oh, I think this is what this book's about, and then as I'm reading it, I'm like, this is not what this is about.
It's a different book.
Yeah,
that's so interesting to me because I am a staunch, at least on the point of like purchase or the point of adding to my TBR. I always read the synopsis. It's not getting added unless I've read the synopsis and I kind of know what I'm getting, but there's typically a long period of time between when I read the synopsis when I read the book. So by the time I usually get around to the book, it's all gone, and I just know that I wanted to read it
at the time. You were intrigued. That makes sense. I wonder if part of it is because I don't know how often you lean on your library specifically, but usually I think it's easier for me because I'm just like, oh, I'm just borrowing this from the library. So I'm like, I'm a quick DNFer. I do DNF quite quickly, which I know like that would be dangerous for people who are completionists to go in completely blind. And then if they hate it, they're in for the long haul. I understand that would not be fun.
Yeah, that's true. I do DNF. I guess people say I'm a quick DNFer. I'm like 50 pages is my that's the DNF zone usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do it later if it's really not working for me. But I'm happy to DNF, but I don't think I DNF I don't know, it's hard with DNFing. I feel like I don't DNF a lot, but then to some people, I think I DNF a lot.
Yeah, I thought about doing this. I've been trying, I like to keep track of my DNFs, like as far as just like knowing how many I've DNF'd in the month or the year. And one thing that I want to do this year is just look at the number of books I've picked up and like see the proportion, you know, because it might seem like I DNF a lot, but if I'm reading way more books than I'm DNFing, then I guess proportionally I'm not, but maybe for someone else, they're like that's a lot. But if I look at the numbers, it's 15% of the books I pick up or something,
Yeah.
you know?
That's a pretty that would be pretty interesting. I would like to see that. I should try and do that as well.
Yeah, just to give yourself a little gist. Like you don't have to grab every statistic, but that might be like, okay, maybe I am DNFing a lot, or I'm barely DNFing if I'm reading like, you know, dozens of books in between.
Yeah. You know, that really intrigues me. I'm not a big statistics keeper, but this is a statistic I would find interesting. I also think I'm very much a like read it, enjoy it. I don't keep everything. I like keep the best, the ones I really love. Sure. So I'd also be interested to see the percentage of books that I just read and I like just pass right on.
Oh yeah, yeah, just to see, I don't know, just that quick percentage, and you're like, huh, interesting. And then it doesn't have to make you change anything, but I think sometimes it's fun to look at that stuff.
Maybe it'd make me use my library. Well, my library's under renovation, which is the main reason I've not been using it lately. But good for them though, because it means it's going to get better. Hopefully. Yeah. Because you cannot go into a book blind. You always have to read the synopsis. You sometimes seek out spoilers so you're not surprised. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's what my grandma used to do. She would read like half the book and it would start to get suspenseful and she'd be like, it's too much suspense.
This is too much for me.
Made it to page 120 of the Hexologist sequel. You'll also immediately forget a synopsis and every few pages need to remember. Yeah. It's hard when you haven't read it yourself. I feel like that helps with retention. DNF on page 1, brutal. Yeah. Brilliantly brutal. 2 DNFs this month already because it just was working, 132% in, and the other was from the second chapter you just knew.
Yeah.
And I ended up on a phone call, but everybody has fun this Gothtober evening. And I have. It's been a really nice time. Just for everyone here, the next Gothtober live show is on Saturday. This is on Tish's channel, and it's a not a reading sprint, it's a fun one. We usually have Kiss, Marry, Kill as one of our Gothtober live shows, but because our theme is castles and crypts, it's a bit harder to do that. So instead we're doing Rent, Buy, Sell. I think that's what we're doing.
I love that. That's great. That's really fun.
So yes, join us on Tish's channel. Leandra, is there anything you want to mention or plug just here at the end?
I haven't scheduled it yet, but on Thursday, I'll be hosting TBR Harvest Sprints, starting around the time that we started today for a few hours. So if people want more sprints, they can join me, but it's not scheduled yet. It will be soon, I promise.
It'll be there, so you should subscribe so that you get that notification whenever the time is due. But for now, I think we're going to sign off. So thank you for joining us. Hope you all have a very